Well, it's great to be with all of you. Let me start by thanking your leader here, Wayne Frazier, and all of you who are part of this great organization for what you do every day to help open the doors of opportunity wider. Wayne, to all of you, thank you for what you do. And that work is more important than ever today, as we just heard from my friend and the next Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries. I want to also congratulate my fellow awardees, but I want to thank all of you for what you do every day. I'm grateful for the award from this great organization, but I wanted to be here today really for the same reasons Hakeem Jeffries is here, which is to thank you for being part of that fight to even the playing field, to open wider the doors of opportunity. As Leader Jeffries said, this is not about getting a better deal or a worse deal. This is about getting the same opportunities as everybody else to even the playing field. And we've recognized for a long time that if you want to even the playing field, you've got to knock down the barriers that were in place that made that an uneven field. And that is what this march has been all about. And this organization recognizes that it's part of that larger fight for justice. It is fighting for economic opportunity every day and more shared prosperity. But that, of course, is part of the larger battle in our country for equal opportunity and justice. I do want to focus for one moment on the attacks that we're seeing specifically with respect to economic opportunity. And we're seeing these across the board from this administration that does want to turn back the clock. One example, and it's a metaphor for everything else they're doing, is their efforts to eliminate the Minority Business Development Agency at the United States Department of Commerce. Now, this agency is the one federal program designed specifically to help minority businesses break down those barriers, to be able to increase competition by breaking down those barriers. And yet, in one of the very earliest executive orders issued by this president, they specifically targeted that agency for complete elimination. Now, this was flat out illegal because 2 years ago, Senator Cardin and I were worried about this kind of thing happening. We codified that particular agency and funded it. So I am pleased to report that despite their efforts in this last year when they tried to eliminate it, and by the way, submitted a budget that completely eliminated funding for it, we not only kept the agency alive, but we provided funding this year going forward. And now they don't seem to learn their lesson because they just submitted another budget. And that budget also eliminates funding, but I can assure you we will work on a bipartisan basis in the Appropriations Committee to make sure that we sustain and fund that program, but also the other programs that are in place to try to even the playing field and open doors of opportunity. But we need to do that together. Are you in with us to do it together? Now, this is part of that fight for equal justice, equal opportunity, equal voting rights. And not only are we seeing the attacks on the Minority Development Business Agency, but we're also seeing attacks on the foundations of our democracy. We're seeing attacks on our Constitution. We're seeing efforts to deny people their First Amendment rights, their due process rights. And right here in Maryland, we were witness to an early example because they took this guy called Kilmar Abrego Garcia, snatched him off the streets of Prince George's County, and disappeared him to El Salvador, to this gulag called CICOT, which is notorious for torturing prisoners. And so when we said you can't just disappear someone in the United States of America, they admitted that they committed an error. But then they said they didn't give a damn, and they're just going to keep him there. And so many of us said, no, that's not the way it works in the United States of America. And I think all of you know that if you deny the due process rights of one person, you threaten the due process rights of every single person in this room and every single person in America. And so I got mad, and I remembered our friend John Lewis, who I had the great privilege of knowing and traveling 3 times with him on the Civil Rights Pilgrimage, walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And I thought of John Lewis when I decided to make a little bit of good trouble, and I got on an airplane and went down to El Salvador to seek the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And as of today, he is back home in Maryland. They are still trying to prosecute him and persecute him, but that's just an example of how the fight continues. And this is a fight for our Constitution and for our democracy. There is an ongoing effort to rewrite and whitewash our history, as Leader Jeffrey said. At the Naval Academy, not down the road too far, they tried to ban a lot of books. One of them was Maya Angelou's, I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings. That's why we have to make good trouble. I showed up at the Board of Visitors meeting with her book, and we were able to get all the books but a few restored to the library at the Naval Academy. And we need to keep pushing back. So I'm going to end with this, because there's always a danger in getting a United States Senator up at the microphone, but I want to end with this. This organization, Wayne, as you know, is part of that larger fight for what it means to be true to American values. And part of that has been the path we've taken to build a more perfect union. Recognizing our imperfect foundations and making it our mission as Americans to make sure that we do build that country based on equal opportunity and equal justice and equal rights. And that has to be true in every field of endeavor. And you have it as your mission to make sure that that is true when it comes to supporting our great entrepreneurs, supporting our great businesses, supporting the lifeblood of our economy here in Maryland and around the country. And we can only do that successfully as a country and come together if we all are able to enjoy the same rights and we're all playing on the same playing field. No one's asking to do better, but people are asking not to be disadvantaged. And that's what this is all about. And we had a great Marylander who was born into slavery on Maryland's Eastern Shore, became the great abolitionist, and Frederick Douglass said, and his words really are immortal, he said, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress." And as Leader Jeffrey said, our history is one of struggle, progress, pushback, struggle. This administration wants nothing more than for all of us to shut up. They want nothing more than for all of us to go away. And that's why we have an obligation to speak out and stand up and push back and make sure we do achieve that America that we say we stand for, one of equal justice, one of equal opportunity, one of equal rights. That's what you all are part of in this great moment in our history. And I'm absolutely convinced that just like the people of Minneapolis stood up and fought back, that the people of this country are going to work together with you to protect our democracy and our Constitution. Thank you for being part of this important work.